According to documents newly released by the Canadian government, those documents now show that the Canadian government knew that they were sending political and material support to neo-Nazis in Ukraine when the Ukrainian Civil War broke out. The documents reveal something even more disconcerting. Those involved in the meeting not only didn't denounce Nazism, but instead expressed concern about how it would appear to the public. According to the Ottawa Citizen, the Canadians met with and were briefed by the leaders from the Azov Battalion in June 2018. The officers and diplomats did not object to the meeting and instead allowed themselves to be photographed with battalion officials despite previous warnings that the unit saw itself as pro-Nazi. The Azov Battalion then used those photos for its online propaganda, pointing out the Canadian delegation expressed hopes for a further fruitful cooperation. According to at least one document that was released under the Access to Information Law, a journalist asked a Canadian military official about the connection to the Azov Battalion and its neo-Nazi roots. Not only was the spokesperson unable to answer the question, but they had to go back and get consultation before they could give a reply. Lieutenant Colonel Fraser Auld, the commander of Canada's Joint Task Force Ukraine, expressed concern that it would reflect poorly in the public's opinion that such a meeting with the neo-Nazis took place. In 2017, a year before the meeting, it was acknowledged by the Canadian government that multiple members of the Azov had described themselves as Nazis. Behind the scenes, Chris Henderson, the Assistant Deputy Minister for Public Affairs, expressed concern about the photos of Nazis and Canadian soldiers together, saying, "Do we have a clear expression of the CAF policy towards this group? This may or may not prompt questions, but we need to be ready and not come across as being taken by surprise." Now, even U.S. Congress has taken recent steps to try to stop sending material and political support to neo-Nazis in the Ukraine conflict. In 2014, legislation was passed adding an amendment to the House Defense Appropriations Bill that limits arms trainings and other assistance to the neo-Nazi Ukrainian militias, the Azov Battalion. In 2016, it was overturned. In 2018, that restriction was reinstated, which once again forbid the U.S. government from spending any of the defense budget on the Azov Battalion. Despite these minute steps by U.S. Congress to limit support to white supremacists, the Canadian government has gone ahead and continued full support with these neo-Nazi fascist forces inside of Ukraine.
According to one source, the Azov Battalion was founded in 2014, and its first commander was Andriy Belitsky, who previously headed the neo-Nazi group Patriots of Ukraine. Several members of the militia, which have been integrated into the Ukrainian National Guard, are self-avowed neo-Nazis.
To support this connection, the Trudeau government used the former finance minister Chrystia Freeland in order to boost connections to the neo-Nazis. Her Ukrainian grandfather, Michael Chomiak, edited a pro-Nazi Ukrainian paper called the Krasvitsky Visti in Krakow and then Vienna. It would be foolish to think of this as a mere coincidence. She has also in her past written positively about Ukrainian fascists. Canada has continued to be a large supporter of these neo-Nazi forces inside of Ukraine. Now, they support these forces because the opposition, that would be ethnic Russian separatists, are allegedly controlled by the Russian president, Vladimir Putin, and not by their stated desire to avoid living under a Nazi government. With the destabilization of the Ukrainian government, it would seem like an appropriate time for people who wanted to separate in order to enact actions that would fulfill that goal. And those same people did not want to live underneath neo-Nazis. Yet despite this, the Canadian government has still adamantly supported the neo-Nazis inside the country, casting a huge black eye to the Canadian government, which has always insisted that it was a champion of freedom and democracy and opposed racism. These actions would certainly stand in entire contradiction to it. Thank you for watching. If you like this program, then please head over to my Patreon page and set up a monthly donation. It's your donations that keep this program running. Also, if you would like, please rate, comment, subscribe, and share in various social media.